Words matter, and the words that matter the most are the ones you say to yourself. So all that mind chatter in your head. So we're going to take a look at catching dysfunctional thoughts. I want you to really pay attention because I'm going to ask you what dysfunctional thought you have a tendency of having. We all have dysfunctional thoughts. You can't be on this planet and not have picked up some of them. So I've had my own collection of dysfunctional thoughts that I need to keep track of. Well, let's look at some categories. This is from cognitive behavioral therapy, fairly well researched. And one of the tendencies clusters is all or nothing thinking, black or white thinking. We have seen this during COVID. You're bad if you get vaccinated, or depending on the black and white thinking, you're the bad person if you got vaccinated and you're shedding, right? So, oh, you're bad, you got vaccinated. You're bad, oh, you didn't get vaccinated. So we've had a very polarized time during this COVID, people moving into black and white thinking. And you will run into this in the workplace. A change will be proposed, and some people will not be open to exploring it, to get curious. Curious is the antidote to all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. So ask yourself, do you move to it, it can't be this way, it can't be that way? Or are you open to being curious and exploring options such as this? We live in a blaming culture. Yes, we do. Look out when you go to meetings if somebody's smiling. Sometimes they're getting their thoughts all ready to blame you. So typically, again, in the world, just take a look at the world. There's a problem. And what do we put in the news? Who's to blame? We don't talk about the problem and how we could be part of the solution. Now, some people are, but the really loud voices are who's to blame. Let's blame somebody. There's blame owners and there's blame throwers. There's more blame throwers, by the way. But if you are a blame owner, be careful about that. You do not want to be taking responsibility. We want people to be responsible. We want to hold people responsible. Holding people responsible says, I see you made an error. Can I help correct it? Rather than it's all your fault, right? Or another way to attend to an error, a problem, is to say, we have a problem. And how can we solve it so that you're on the side of the employee? Because if you put people in defensiveness, they're going to shut down or they're going to disappear on you, right? So another question is, how did we not support you that this happened? And how can we support you now to help us dig out of it? So be careful about blaming. It happens in families, it happens in communities, it happens in countries and worlds, and of course, in organizations. Another thought pattern is old beliefs that get in the way of reality. In Alberta, there was a young woman who used to take a beautiful roast, cut it in half, and put it in 2 small pans. And the husband went to the mother-in-law and said, why do we take a beautiful roast, cut it in half, and put it in 2 small pans? And the mother said, well, we were told we should. He went to the grandmother and said, why does my sweetheart and my mother-in-law take a lovely roast, cut it in half, and put it in 2 small pans? And the grandma said, oh, for goodness sakes, are they still doing that? We only had 2 small pans when I was raising my family in the Depression. That's so silly. So you'll hear people say, oh, we must, we should, we have to. There are no shoulds. There are no have tos. Your employees can walk out the door. Now, are there consequences? There certainly are. You can say, the consequence of making that decision, or the consequence of not getting your report in time, or the consequence of you not taking care of yourself is this, this, and this. There are always consequences, but there's no have-tos or shoulds. So watch yourself if you are shoulding on yourself. I should have a suit on when I go to a certain meeting. Just check whether that's reality or not. And So check, are you shooting on yourself? Are you shooting on others? Or are you masturbating? And remember, there's very few have-tos, but there are consequences. And right fighting. This is Sarah's favorite dysfunctional thinking, and it tends to be mine in my marriage. I could spend hours proving that I'm right, but you're much more productive if you spend that same time seeking to understand the other person's perspective. Eating a cookie after a meal, or maybe having a cookie jar on my desk for my employees, help yourself to a cookie, or gifting every employee with a cookie on Employee Day, Employee Appreciation Day, might feel right to me. But if I've got an employee who's diabetic, that's not good for that employee, right? There are very few right and wrongs. People say it's wrong to kill. Well, guess what? I sent some money to the Ukrainian army to help them do exactly that, right? So is it helpful? Is it useful? Is it appropriate? Are better places to come from and to seek to understand the other person, where they're coming from. And labeling. This is the most deadly, and should not be in a workplace ever. If you hear this, you need to call, not okay. Name calling, stupid, idiot, loser. We had somebody yesterday online who at the workplace is called Tiny instead of her proper name. That's not okay. So I was labeled as a child stupid by my father, my very wounded father who never got the help he needed. Fortunately, I'm helping with generational trauma by getting myself healed. So he called me stupid. I failed grade 7. I dropped out of high school. I thought I was stupid. That's what I believed about myself. I am. Now, be careful how you say I am, and be careful how you say you are. Little children, when they're told you are, that becomes the reality. I was told you are stupid. I am not a stupid. I am an individualized expression of spiritual energy in woman form who has the gifts of creativity and empathy and helpfulness to others. Careful of labels. And they usually start with I am or you are. I will tell you what's safe to say I am and you are. I am lovable, capable, and resilient. And I can say to Sarah, you are lovable, capable, and resilient. Now, capable and resilient needs some work. We need to develop that capacity. And if a dog can poop on the floor and still be lovable in many homes, then I think all human beings are lovable. When you were born, newborn baby, brought into this world, you and the world knew you were lovable. What changed? Right? Yeah, okay. I want you to choose one thought that you said, I have that thought that's not helpful to me. It might be labeling yourself. It might be where you're saying, I'm right, they're wrong. It might be the black and white thinking, this is right, this is wrong. So I want you to think about one thought and write it down. But just write that thought down. 50% of changing is awareness. So write that thought down. And then put that thought in your head. If it helps you to close your eyes while we ask these questions, we're going to ask 3 mind chatter challenging questions. You see, for years, I built a big neuron that said, I am stupid. And I needed to really get clear that that's what was going on in my head. I made an error in a report once. I made 3 errors in a report once. My manager gave me the report and said, Patricia, there's 3 errors in this report. Please change them. What I heard was, I'm stupid. I ended up crying because that was my big neuron being activated. You want to really catch your negative, unhelpful mind chatter that's got nothing to do with the truth of you. Okay, Here we go. Does this thought positively serve me and others? No. Saying I'm stupid in my head was putting a basket over my head and not allowing me to be the best I am. What will the consequence be if I keep thinking this thought? I took my first university class at 30. That's after I did a lot of work on that one thought. Choose one thought. And what do I want to think? And now I think I possess a creative intelligence and an empathetic, helpful intelligence.